Hi, welcome back to Tact Talks. I'm your host, Jack Brandwood, and this is a podcast where I speak to some of the brightest and most influential people in the tech industry in the UK. This week, I sit down with Manchester Angel, David Levine. Our conversation covers what it's like to set up a business and get investment, the tech ecosystem, and what to look for in an investment partner.
The best answer you can get from an investor is yes. The second best is no, but here is why. The job that I do, and that spend time with these founders, is hopefully to shed light on how investors think.
For more information on the episode and Tact Talks, head over to tact-it.co.uk. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the episode. Hi David, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Another great day in Manchester. I know you were complimenting on the building in the background, but we'll try and get rid of that for next time. We'll Photoshop it out.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But no, look, I always like to start these things with, could you tell us about David Levine?
Yeah, perfect. So David Levine, I was actually born in Dublin, grew up in Ireland, which nobody ever gets. People think I have a Bristol accent or something weird, but I have been here in Manchester for longer than I was in Ireland. I came over for university, did a computer science degree, University of Manchester, met the lady who became my wife, stayed. We have 4 kids, did my MBA also at Manchester Business School. Number of interesting roles, I guess. Straight out of university, I worked for Hewlett-Packard, worked for the office of the CTO. In fact, my management team were based on what's called 1 Tantau Avenue in Cupertino, which is now the Apple building. So Apple bought the building in Cupertino, pulled it down and built the spaceship. And that's where I used to go, which was great as a first career. In fact, my first ever business trip was a conference in Cannes, and we flew there from Nice airport by helicopter, which was pretty hard to better as suddenly just not long out of university. Worked for Hewlett-Packard 7 years, left there to do a number of things, eventually ended up as head of business development at a traffic information company in South Manchester, working with the likes of BMW and Toyota and Hyundai Kia. We were acquired by a Seattle-based business, which we always said it was because the climates are exactly the same, rainy and grey. And then I was headhunted by Vodafone to lead their global practice in automotive and telematics, which I did for about 14 months, got to go to some great places. Korea was a particular highlight, Japan, all over Japan, particular highlights. But got the itch to start my own business. And I did. One day I came home from work, from one of my travels, and my wife said, I want to redecorate the lounge, what do you think? And I was like, sure. She was like, great, because I've just pulled off this inch by inch square from a sample paper roll at B&Q. What do you think? And showed me this literally square torn off of wallpaper, and I had no idea because I just could not imagine what that looked like in my home space. And when I said that, she was like, great, because here's a different square for the feature wall. And I was like, I have no idea what this will look like. So being the type of guy I am, I figured there must be a way to take a picture and visualize what that wallpaper would look like in my own space. And there wasn't. So I decided now's a good time to build a business to do that. And that's how Digital Bridge, which is now called Fixture, how that came about. And that's kind of a quick potted history of how we got there.
Wow, that's incredible. So how did you know you wanted to were you always interested in technology? Was that?
Yeah, so I did a computer science degree. I was the kid at school who always was doing computers and playing games and getting out of Irish class in order to play Prince of Persia in our computer lab upstairs, and throwing the Prince of Persia 3.5-inch floppy disks across the room to my friends, and it was a whole megabyte worth of data, back in those days. And I did my computer science degree here in Manchester. I wasn't very good. I just about scraped by my got a 2-1 in my degree thanks to an actually iconic legend in the computer industry called Steve Ferber, Professor Steve Ferber, based in Manchester, who was my tutor at the time. I came up with my own final year project because it wasn't on the list because they were really boring. So at the time, a lot of your listeners won't remember this, but at the time, if you were on O2, you could only send a text message to people on O2. You couldn't send a text message to any other network. And every phone number, you could tell what network you were on just because of the prefix. There was no cross-platform, and you could even take your number as you moved. So I built a system where from your computer you could send a text message to any phone. So it's very outdated now. From your computer to any phone across any network, and nobody knew how to do that. So Steve Ferber, he helped he actually designed the ARM chip in the BBC computers. I mean, a real icon in the computing industry. He was kind of appointed as my tutor, and he was like, "I have no idea what you're doing, but I'll just do it." So he was a great guy. He is a great guy, and Manchester is known for, we invented the computer here. That's one of the reasons why I did my degree here. In fact, when I was at Digital Bridge, we were just off the campus, Manchester University campus, in Manchester Science Parks, and there's a plaque. I used to walk new people into the business. We just take for a walk, and I showed them the plaque that here in 1948, the world's first stored program computer was built by Professor Kilburn, as he was. So it's a great city, it's a great place to do that. So I was always the kid into computers, but quite early on, away from the technology to kind of business use and how technology could be deployed to solve business problems.
So loads of questions from what you just said there. So why did you pick Manchester? Was that just where your family moved?
The number of things. So religious aspects. So I grew up in Dublin. I'm clearly Orthodox Jewish. Not a lot of strong Jewish life in Dublin. It's a very, very small community. Manchester is a very, very burgeoning community. It's the right infrastructure in terms of places I can go and eat. Right. So we've got some kosher restaurants, which is great. Kosher groceries, community, and everything else. And it was very important to me. That's where I wanted to be. My brother had been here. My sister had been here. And it certainly wasn't for the weather, but it was a great place. And Manchester University was the home of computer science. So I came here to study. And in fact, in those days, I can't remember, I should know this now because my son is now at university, my daughter is just applying. I think UCAS had 8 places where you could put 8 choices to university. And I chose all 5 places that were here at the time in Manchester because I didn't want, and nowhere else. I was no interest in going to Leeds or anything. I wanted Manchester, and that's where I am.
Wow. And your tutor, and it sounds like a mentor of yours, Professor Ferber, is that right? Are you still keep in touch with him now?
Yes, we do. Not as much as we used to. So he was actually, when I was at Digital Bridge, he was an advisor to my business. Just a phenomenal guy. And he is literally an icon in the computing industry. People will know, the BBC Micros and ARM were, the first kind of home personal computing revolution, early 80s. And Steve Ferber was behind that, and he is a legend in the industry.
Love that. Fantastic. You tell this fantastic story. It's brilliant about this torn off kind of juvenile piece of wallpaper. So when was the light bulb moment when you decided, right, I'm going to create the solution to this problem?
So it was probably that day, actually, that happened, because I went upstairs, started to research, figuring I cannot be the only person with this problem. And there were 1 or 2 things out there. In Dulux had an app which was just pretty poor. And there are lots of tools that could help me, beautifully taking pictures of rooms, not unlike the room we're in now, a beautiful apartment with really nice decoration. Then you could see what certain color of paint or wallpaper looked like. But that wasn't my room. That wasn't my space. That wasn't my mess, my lighting. And that's what I couldn't imagine. And my wife, even to this day, still can't work out why I could not imagine that, because she can. She's just very visual in that respect, and I'm not. So I needed to see it. It didn't exist. I'm just kind of the guy who give me an obstacle, and I'm done. I'm at it. I'm figuring a way to get around it, under it, through it, whatever. And I decided this is a problem that needs to be solved. So I approached the computer science department of Manchester University. I knew this was a computer vision problem because I wanted to take a picture. I wanted to interpret that picture, the lighting, the shading, the space, the geometry of the room. I wanted to be able to identify what a wall is, where the plug sockets were, what furniture in front of the wall was. So it was a computer vision problem. So I ended up speaking to a number of PhDs, one who eventually joined the business, became CTO of the business. He's now gone to do his own amazing things in the cancer detection space, using computer vision to look at cancer scans, and do some incredible stuff around there. Really, really phenomenal here in Manchester. And we kicked it off, got going, got some angel funding, won a number of awards, a couple of grants, got into the John Lewis Accelerator program, won some incredible deals with the Kingfisher Group, so B&Q's head or parent company across Europe, the world's largest home decor company. I spent 3 years traveling to the US to win. And we did phenomenally well, attracted investment, angel investment, venture capital investment, and we did really, really well.
Wow, okay. Obviously left the business now. How long was the business going for there?
I built it up for about 7 or 8 years. When I left, we were about 35, 40 people doing really, really well. Won some phenomenal deals. It was just post-COVID, and it was just a great place to be. One of the most amazing things about it was, and it sounds a bit cheesy, but it is absolutely true, the people I got to work with every single day, just astonishing. The level of talent in that office and in that environment was just astonishing. Some of these people have been with me. In fact, some of them have been paid by the business before I was, because I was doing some consulting part-time gigs whilst we got it kicked off, so they were paid before me. We had one lady who is just leaving the business now, who had done her undergraduate degree in game design in Bolton, a master's degree in IT at Bolton, and because she was a lady in Bolton, nobody really gave her much of a look in terms of career. Myself and my CTO, we met her at the cafe in M&S in Fort, Manchester. I remember today she was just so nervous, and I remember asking her, how much do you want to be paid for this role? And her response was, look, I'm stuck in my parents' garden centre building an electronic point-of-sale system whilst designing games on the side. I'm being paid 16, and you can give me 16 on there. I was like, I'm not going to pay 16. We're going to pay 20 for this role, so I'll pay you 20 for this role. And she has been just astonishing. She's amazing. She's incredible. She's just taken on just an incredibly new role in the gaming world. She's a big gamer. I used to bring her to the US with customers, and she's just incredible. Other people within the organization who actually, a gentleman who did his work experience, summer experience with us, and then a bit work experience, and then he joined the company. He's just had his 4th child, still at the business. He's just astonishing. These people grew up together with me in that business, and later on more experienced people joined us. Just an incredible place to work with just great talent, and really representative of that superbly high quality talent that we have here in Manchester.
Again, from a recruitment background, speaking with founders, and I'm sure you'll find this, you are who you hire.
Yes,
is a really great phrase. And but what's really exciting there is how clearly passionate and connected you are to these people. As Digital Bridge grew and is growing, their lives have kind of grown as well, right? And they've gone through these amazing milestones all together. But obviously now you're doing something slightly different. So could you tell us what you're doing now?
This is really good because my wife often asks, "What is it you actually do for a living?" So
just send her this clip.
So I primarily support early stage technology startups and scale-ups, in effect. So I've spent a lot of time working as the entrepreneur in residence at the Enterprise City Accelerator in Bonded Warehouse, which is a phenomenal location. And that's really about working with a range of different early stage businesses, and anything from businesses that have just built their first MVP, their minimal viable product, to businesses that are just starting to hit that product market fit stage, or at least signals of product market fit. And I'll spend a lot of time, anything from here is a blank spreadsheet, and we're now going to build together your cash flow, which will be the living and breathing document you will check every single day from the life of this business from today until you exit, because it is the lifeblood, and that red line is when you're going to fall off the cliff, so let's not get there. To spending a lot of time around investment readiness, supporting these businesses in understanding what it means to take money, what investors look like, what they ask for, what they mean, what valuations look like. And valuations is a whole separate fascinating discussion. Working with different types of investors, from angels to venture capital, to coaching these businesses to choose the right investor very, very carefully, because choosing the wrong investor is disastrous, to helping them scale from a sales perspective, etc. So it's really hands-on work. And as a result of that work, I was getting quite frustrated that it's been really difficult traditionally to get that first 250 to 750K over the line for these early stage businesses, which you need to build out product market fit, or at least signals of product market fit. Product market fit means you are solving a problem that people will actually pay you money to solve, and you can demonstrate that. So you have 1,000 users and you're growing at 10% month on month, and you're making lots of mistakes, but you're learning from those mistakes, and people are actually paying you, and you can demonstrate fundamental metrics within that. That's product market fit, or at least signals of product market fit. So, and I was moaning about this to Hugh Campbell of GP Bullhound, and GP Bullhound are one of the world's foremost technology investment banks. So they will do serious fundraisers, typically above the £20 million stage, but also they will sell businesses the likes of Snapchat to Meta, to Amazon, to Pinterest, you name it. And of the three managing partners, one is based here in Manchester, Hugh Campbell. Their office is just around the corner. Phenomenal team, and I've known Hugh for years, very supportive of my journey at Digital Bridge, which is now called Fixture, of course, and previously in other guises. And he said, well, let's do something about it. So what we did is we took a number of kind of ad hoc angel investment networks that existed and then looking to professionalize that, where we choose our angels very, very carefully. So we want angels who have demonstrable experience in growing and scaling technology businesses. They've typically exited. They have money to deploy, time to be involved, and will actually deploy that capital. So we don't really want angels who will stick the word angel on LinkedIn and never write a check in their lives. That's not for us. So, and then we're sourcing some really, really high quality deals and opportunities. And for me, the mantra of this is, I call it unlocking ambition. Because very often that is the thing that's missing. So a good business solving a tangible business problem that costs businesses money, there's lots of those ideas out there. And we're good at execution, really good at execution. Although sometimes you need to leverage experience on top of that. But it's the ambition part that obsesses me. You know, some people will walk into me or give me a business plan or talk through their deck, and they'll be really excited about hitting a 5 million revenue target in 3 years. And that's just not good enough. That needs to be 50 million, right? And it's cliche. The moonshot cliche is overused. You aim for the moon, you aim for the stars, you won't get there, but maybe you'll hit the moon. But it's that level of ambition that has typically been missing, because we're scared to admit we want to be successful here in this country. We're scared to admit that we want to make money. And we don't support people in reaching those ambitions, in saying it's okay to be successful. And the only difference really between a US-based startup and a UK, and typically Northwest-based startup, is in the US, an investor will sit opposite a kid at Starbucks, University Avenue in Palo Alto, and that kid will say, I'm going to build $1 billion business. And that angel or investor will laugh at that kid, and that kid will go and build a $1 billion business. So FOMO is a really powerful dynamic, particularly in the Valley, but across the US. And we don't have that here. And we don't teach people that it's okay to think big. And we don't teach them the methodology. And that's really what I'm obsessed about. And that's what Manchester Angels is all about letting people think big, unlocking that ambition, and allowing them to become successful, giving them the tools and the methodology and the experience and the support.
That's fantastic. I'm kind of fired up just listening to you talk about that. You talking about that people aren't allowed to feel like they. Do you feel like people think it's a bit silly when they're talking about what they want to achieve?
I think they're embarrassed.
Yeah,
they're embarrassed to admit they want to be successful.
Right.
I mean, we live in the Northwest. It's quite a conservative industrial background, not conservative politically, but mindset. On one hand, of course, very liberal, in other ways. And I think people are. I use the word embarrassed. People are embarrassed to be successful, and they shouldn't be, because what we have is grit. We work really, really hard. And what's the point of working really, really hard if you cannot be successful? And the backgrounds that people come from, whether it's an influential background or a background that can be challenging educationally, politically, socially, whatever it is, we need to give our kids the tools and our people within the region the belief, and to show them how you can build a really, really big business. There's nothing stopping you except you. And that's my passion.
That's fantastic. And close to home, I guess, from setting up Digital Bridge originally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you're talking to these entrepreneurs, these founders, these startups, what is it that you feel that you look out for? I mean, you mentioned a couple then. How about in the founder? Is there anything in particular that you're like, right, okay, this person's going to be the one?
Two things primarily. One is humility. Second is coachability. So, and there's quite a balance there, because you want somebody who is passionate, who's driven, who has a clarity of mission and can communicate that clarity to the various stakeholders, the team. I remember, I used to I used to meet, well, in the early days, I would interview every person that joined me at Digital Bridge. Later on, when my team got much better at it than I ever was, I would always meet the person joining the business, not because I was interviewing them. I want them to interview me, because they're making a call on me and my ability to drive the business forward. And I felt it was important for them to make that choice based on who I was and what I was able to do. So one of the important things there is being able to communicate sense of purpose and clarity of the mission to every single person that was joining the organization and throughout the time with the organization. And that's really, really important. So coachability, humility, clarity of thought, clarity of communication, they're really, really important, as well as, the fundamentals. So are you attacking a big problem? And I mean big as in really big markets. Is the market worth hundreds of millions, billions a year? How are you going to attack that market? How are you going to disrupt that market? Do you have the talent to do so? Can you attract the right people around you in order to do so? How are you thinking about things and channel to market, how you actually get your technology, your platform, whatever it might be, out to market? And scalability, can this scale? So for example, a lot of businesses that I will see that have a strong human component don't really scale very well. They're very often consulting businesses. Now out of them, you can build really phenomenal ways of automating tasks and automating parts of the business. And those sort of things scale really, really, really well. I mean, there's one business I'm working with at the moment, I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, a really phenomenal founder called Sean Brown. I hope you'll feature him. He built a platform called Visori, and it is an enterprise automation tool. So within the technology space, there's a tool everyone knows called Zapier, or Zapier if you're in the US, it's a superpower, right? So if you're running a Shopify store and you want to extract your sales data from Shopify and put it into Google Sheets, it's Zapier all day long, right? So it just allows you to extract and do cool automations. But with enterprise businesses, that doesn't really work, because enterprises are full of legacy, bespoke applications that a Zapier will not come along and build bespoke integrations for. So something like Visori allows you to tap into a $256 billion market. And what's super exciting about Sean's a serial entrepreneur. He's done phenomenally well. He was involved in Social Chain and Mercato. But he's just got into Y Combinator. And Y Combinator is the most prestigious accelerator program in the world. Coinbase, Airbnb, DoorDash, they've all come out of Y Combinator. So he's just got in there, based in South Manchester. So he's going to move out into the US now next year and build it. So we have this phenomenal talent, and his sense of mission, his purpose, his humility, his coachability is just phenomenal. And that's just, you just latch onto that and you go, think, this guy is phenomenal, or this girl's phenomenal. I was doing incredible things with them.
It must be incredible for you, the fact that you kind of lived your journey in a way with Digital Bridge and setting up that and setting up that business, but you also get to relive that journey again and again and again through these.
Yeah, but differently. So my job is to make people avoid the mistakes that I made.
Sure.
To shine a light on the rabbit holes that people could fall in, but won't know about for 2 years, particularly around investments and who the investors are and the type of things in the kind of investment agreement, that type of thing. That's my job. So it's different. So I've made tons and tons of mistakes, 1, 2 things right, and I want people to learn from that. And it's really, really rewarding. And I was asked this question yesterday by somebody else about what would I kind of change in those sort of, I guess, the relationship between founders looking for investors and investors looking for the right businesses to invest in. And there are two things, or there are two elements, two dimensions to that. Number one is, investors sometimes need to act better. They need to respond better, be more sympathetic of a founder's time. One of the most important commodities a founder has is time. A lot of investors will take a meeting with the founder, even though they know they're not going to invest in the 2 years because it's too early for their investment staging or whatever it might be. And I will also say, well, just don't do that, please, because it's let them get on with their day job. Being responsive, giving good feedback. So the best answer you can get from an investor is yes. The second best is no, but here is why, and you explain why. Some investors just say no or pass or don't respond or ghost, and founders find that very frustrating, and it is frustrating. And I think founders need to understand the world that an investor has to occupy, which is they have stakeholders, right? They have their limited partners, their general partners, the people who are investing, whose actual capital it is, whether that's British Business Bank or whoever it might be. And they are answerable and have certain criteria. And one of the most interesting conversations I have with founders is around valuation, because going back to my point about ambitions, sometimes you come across founders who have this incredible ambition, but they don't understand that an investor sees these businesses every single day. And it's not just about the ambition. They need to know or feel confident that you will get there, particularly the early stage. Businesses do not have that much traction. So an investor cannot invest in the traction. They have to invest in the person, in the founder. And therefore, that's a really big part of the investment criteria at that stage. And it's really important that founders try and get themselves into the shoes of the investor. And when they get frustrated, I don't understand why they're not valuing my business at 30 million quid at this stage, because I have 12 users and everything. The reality is investors have their own people to answer for, their own stakeholders. And it's really, really important to understand that. And so the job that I do, and I spend time with these founders is hopefully to shed light on how investors think. And it's phenomenal. It's rewarding, very, very exciting. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, particularly in the current economic environment, but very rewarding.
Yeah, and clear value you can offer, especially from what you just said. When it comes to the types of businesses that you look out for, don't get me wrong. I think everyone knows that AI, automation, that sort of thing is a given. A business with in that sphere is going to be brilliant. Any other kind of industries or types of businesses that you're seeing do well?
I mean, there are a range of different businesses. I mean, automation and AI, really, really important. I see a lot of mental health businesses that come my way, which I think is, and every investor will tell you the same thing. And it's synonymous, I think, with, unfortunately, the world we live in, where mental health is a real issue. We're recognizing it's a problem, and we're creating the tools to deal with it and to give people the tools to be successful in the world, no matter what they suffer from. But there are so many of them, it can be really hard to work out why is this one different? And just like a lot of business, in reality, no matter what sector you are in, the only currency that really matters with investors in the Northwest, and particularly in the economic environment, is traction. Even if you have a business that someone will go, I'm not really sure about that, but you can show traction, people will go, oh, okay, that's really interesting. And on the other hand, you've got business that people say, I love that, but if you can't get people to start using it, you don't have that traction with your target customers, it can be really, really hard.
That's a great word, traction, like kind of social proof.
Social proof is one element. So traction fundamentally is, will people pay you? So traction can be, depending on the stage of business, type of business, if I am selling a monthly subscription to a software tool that does a thing, traction means how many paid users do you have? What is the churn? So, month by month, how many people are stopping paying because not finding it interesting enough, or they've got other things competing for their pocketbook. What does that look like? How long does it take you to acquire customers? So, for example, if you're targeting small businesses, your sales cycle will be quite small, days, weeks, early, small number of months. Larger businesses take big ships turn slowly. So if you're selling to large businesses, then they take longer. These are things that investors are looking at. Customer concentration is a huge issue. So going back to mental health, another kind of healthcare, because we're talking to the NHS and we've almost got the NHS sign. Yeah, that's a really, really hard beast. They're huge. And it takes a long time to get things signed. And even when you've got them, just deploying it inside the NHS is really, really hard. And you've only got one customer, which is the NHS, and that's a customer concentration issue. All things that investors, again, are wise to and will look for. And sometimes when you get rejection from those investors, founders take it quite personally, and you need thick skin. One of the important things you need as a founder is to have thick skin. And you need to look at the reasons why you are being rejected for investment. Maybe it's the wrong fit. Maybe it's wrong investment thesis, wrong stage, wrong check size, whatever it might be. But feedback is so important. Take that and iterate from that and learn from that. I think that's what it needs to be.
Amazing. Okay. Enterprise City.
Yeah.
Kind of built around the baby computer almost, right? At Mosey, in a way, and heavily involved in it. What's the future for Enterprise City?
So I think what Allied London, who are the property business behind what they're doing, is just has the most phenomenal vision. We're incredibly lucky here in Manchester because we have Bruntwood, of course, who have just revolutionised. I mean, here we are sat in a beautiful apartment building overlooking Manchester, and iconic, tall skyscraper building. It's just phenomenal, and Bruntwood and the council and our mayor and what Allied London are doing, it's just incredible. Not just here in Manchester, of course, because Leeds is a big target market for those across the UK. It's phenomenal to be here at this kind of stage of growth. And I think what Allied London and Enterprise City are doing is incredible. They're building a whole district around technology, around media, around digital, around creative, around the arts. What Bruntwood are doing, supporting early stage technology businesses. They're a big part of the Manchester Angels story. So Manchester Angels is Ira Manchester Angels, and GP Bullhound and Bruntwood are the main key strategic partners. We have other partners who help push that forward. The clarity of vision, the ability to execute this vision is phenomenal. And I think Enterprise City is a really, really important part of the landscape, as is Tech Nation. We're very lucky to have really, really talented people from Tech Nation here in Manchester, just doing incredible things and supporting incredible businesses.
There's so much we talk about, but I'm conscious of time, obviously. And who knows, maybe we'll get you on for a second round, who knows. Last question I would like to wrap up with. Today's your last day on Earth. Apart from spending time with family and, of course, being here on this amazing podcast, what would you be doing?
Ooh, what a great question that is. I'm not sure if that leaves me much time to do anything else. I think I would be, I'm obviously, Jewish, I'm very religious, so I think if I knew it was my last day on Earth, it'd be taking stock of what I've achieved, my name, whether people will think back on the time that David Levine spent with that business, that I had a positive impact. Maybe they don't see it for 2 or 3 years, but they could look back and say, you know what, David was great. David helped. It was without David, we might not have got to certain milestones. And I think his experience and his influence was really helpful. I think that's probably what I would do.
What an incredible answer. Reflection. Okay. I like it. Well, fantastic. Thank you for coming on. It's been great speaking with you, and I'm so excited to see the Manchester Angels, Enterprise City, and all these amazing businesses that you're involved with, see where they are in the next 12, 18 months. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Anything we talked about will be linked in the show notes, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and we'll catch you on the next one.